Our next discussion is going to focus on the importance of being prepared for life's events. And what we know is that some of those are planned for and some of those are unforeseen. And you all know what it feels like to be worried about your future, to not know what is coming down the tracks. And how are you going to be able to navigate those challenges? But it's especially important when it comes to your financial well-being and your legal affairs. And how empowering it can be if you think the inverse of feeling disempowered, it's feeling empowered to be able to navigate those challenges. So when you take agency, when you protect your interests and you feel on top of things, you know that you can cope when those things come along. And it gives me enormous pleasure to invite Moira O'Neill, who's a columnist for the Financial Times, who's going to chair our next discussion with Suzanne Mynors and Lucy Taylor, who are delighted to have with you today from Russell-Cooke and from Evelyn Partners. So please welcome them onto the stage.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And thank you to Suzanne, who I have here, and Lucy. So, I'm an independent money and investment journalist. You may know me best from a regular column I write for Financial Times, and in that I cover everything from budget commentary to should you invest in gold and silver to can Barbie afford to retire? And of course that was a very pressing question for Barbie. She'd had so many careers over a wonderful lifetime, but she had to fund a presidential campaign and Ken's expensive beachwear. So it was a bit debatable, but anyway. So today we're going to cover quite a lot of ground, and I think we're going to cover very important topics. One is understanding your priorities, knowing your goals. Another is having agency, taking control. And then the uplifting bit, the liberating feeling that comes from taking control of your finances, and also how the law can help. But first, I do have to do a little bit of a disclaimer because this financial stuff, we've got to say that everything discussed among the panel is not personal advice. So you do have to do your own research and take some professional advice before you make decisions. So let's find out a little bit about us and you. Another show of hands. Put your hand up if you think you're 100% up to date with all your financial stuff and your family and you have a watertight 10-year plan. Oh, one over there. Congratulations. Put your hands up if you think you can do better. All of us except the one. Brilliant. So the thing is, we three are supposedly experts, but, you know, we all need to do a bit of housekeeping. We all think that we can do better. I mean, my personal stuff is really that I always think I can be making better investment decisions. I always think that I'm behind in my tax return and admin, and there really is that power of attorney thing that's really, really important that I ought to do. So, Suzanne, would you like to fess up?
Yes, guilty secret time. And Lucy will probably raise her eyebrows. It's my pensions, and I should fully understand exactly what they are, what they're going to do. And I do have a financial planner, but I'm really still a little bit in the dark about my pensions and how they're going to pan out, because it seems distant, but probably isn't that distant. And then my passwords, constantly advising people about your passwords, password managers, all of that. And I haven't done that.
Fantastic. Well done. Lucy.
Pensions, yes.
Oh, yes.
Right, we'll come back to that. Lots of what, we've all been thinking has been said on this. I was thinking about it, as you do, at 4:00 this morning. And, putting our hands up and not feeling we've got all our ducks in a row, legally, financially, with all the unsexy stuff that we're here to talk about in between the much more exciting bits. It's so interconnected, and I think all we're saying really is we're guilty of being female and putting everyone else first, including clients in my case. and Suzanne's case, I'm sure, but also being human. And we all have this blind spot, don't we? It's, I think, the cobbler's children syndrome of, I love what I do, I love the investment world, and I love getting everyone else sorted, but actually I always come bottom of the pile. So I've got better in the last few years at being kinder to myself and giving myself permission to look after myself and take that time, but the power of attorney still needs to be done, and we are always telling clients how important it is, and we see that kind of vulnerability come along and take people by surprise, so it really is absolutely key.
Yeah, I think that this industry is horrific because it's full of so much jargon, and we've mentioned the one already, which is the power of attorney. Which, does everyone know who that is? What that is? No, I suspect you don't. But I mean, it's a very important legal document that you put in place in case something horrible happens to you and you can't manage your finances yourself. And I think everyone feels they're missing a trick as a result of all this jargon and the complications, etc. And, we just need to make sure that we are financially secure. So the first thing we normally do in that journey is clearly understanding our priorities and our goals. And, as we enter a new decade of life, it's important to work out what those are. So, Lucy, would you like to say a bit about how it's important, what type of goals you would have, how you prioritise, etc.?
Absolutely. I think, and borrowing from the panel before, this is the financial scaffolding, and it's very, very important to take ownership of that decision. But, it's ultimately self-care. It's actually committing some time, and if you like, I've got better at doing it with my Pilates class, it goes in the diary as a meeting. Book yourself some time to have a meeting with the filing cabinet, dig out those dusty papers of what you've accumulated and what you've got, and put it all out on the table, and look at the whole thing in one go, not just the pension on its own in isolation, and work out what it is you need. Have you actually got what you need? It's okay if you don't, if your income doesn't necessarily meet your expenditure, you may be going through an expensive time, but actually ultimately, will you have enough for what you need? And actually, then the really difficult bit comes in, because actually there isn't much magic in that. We can all do it, and we just need to commit and do it. The magic comes in when you actually start thinking, okay, I've got what I need. And, there is a quote that I saw, he who has enough is rich. So we can, ourselves, or we can help you to know you've got enough. But actually, then you have to work out what you want. What do you actually want this pot to do for you? What is it all for? And that bit, I can assure you, husbands and wives don't necessarily agree on it. And that, I think, is where the connection comes in. Actually the connection with your advisors, knowing who to call in that situation. And, in that situation where the people in the room who work together as a marriage, perhaps, don't necessarily agree, they need to have that connection with the people that are advising them.
Yeah, so it's about those connections within relationships, but it could also be about the family dynamics as well. Suzanne, I'm sure this comes up a lot in your work.
It does come up a lot, and having those conversations early can be very challenging. And as Lucy says, what do you actually want? And everybody wants their family to be in harmony, and that's not always the case. And so really what we're trying to do is put ourselves out of a job, in that if your affairs are in order, then you may not need a lawyer down the line. And in fact, if I was really honest, I'd probably tell you to all go and make your own wills and sort of have a go, because that would produce more work for us to do than a properly drafted will and power of attorney, so that everything just runs smoothly. So what is your goal? And I think what I would say is, I think some of the other panellists were alluding to this, we all are aiming at peace of mind. So it's happiness, love, all of these things. But peace of mind, I don't think you can put a price on that. And knowing that your affairs are in order and that you have looked at what's in the dusty filing cabinet and gone through it and you feel in control, that is priceless. And so for this next decade, to feel that you have peace of mind, that as I think it was Sarah said, whatever life throws at you, your affairs are there to meet it. We're all going to die, we all need a will. We may lose our mental capacity. Michael Schumacher is a good example. We need a power of attorney. It's not an old age document. We may have people with vulnerabilities, disabilities, who are subject to manipulation. We may need trusts. There are all sorts of things that can be put in place to protect, but also the scaffolding, the safety net. So when these things happen, you're safe and you know what's going to happen. There's no nasty surprises. And so to really ensure, I think, is probably a useful word, that you're going to be able to cope with whatever life does throw at you because you have a roadmap.
Yeah. So I think women in particular don't do this stuff, unfortunately. We suffer from terrible things that are well promoted, like the pensions gap. You know about that. It's absolutely massive. We don't consistently save for retirement. Now there are lots of reasons for that, but also we shunt all the admin that we've already mentioned into the long grass because we have other things to think about. Quite frankly, there's the kids, there's the teenagers, there's the relationships, there's everything. There's the parents, sandwich generation is a big thing. And how do we take control, Lucy? I mean, what are the simple things that we can do to do that?
I think, you need to get familiar with change. That is something that is going to happen whether we like it or not. And obviously, we all know we've just had a change of government. We've got a budget in a few weeks' time, apparently. So people keep telling me. For us, it's regulatory change. It's, the economic environment is changing. We're trying to work out where we are in all of that. And I think, we're still working through big mindset shifts following the pandemic. We don't connect with people in the office or at the school gate in the same way as we used to. And, certainly for me, being part of just being in this room, actually, and, everything that the panel before was saying about connection is so empowering, and it does sort of make you think, right, step out of the comfort zone and do it. What am I waiting for? So I think, what I see, what we see working with female clients particularly is it's about, and I saw this actually when I was talking to my goddaughter about her A-level result, or she was getting her A-level results this summer, and I saw something which said, as a parent dealing with a child getting A-level results, it's about feeling with, not dealing with, on the day of the results. And I thought, that really kind of rings a bell, because that's what we see play out with clients when we sit and sort of look at scenarios and say, okay, you've got what you need, what do you want? And then give them time to sort of think that through. And, I saw a client this week who I know, because she's just been through a journey with her mother who had care for many, many years, that is a big concern for her. And actually, she's got more than enough for what she needs. And I think she's trying to work out what she wants. Does she want to keep working, which she absolutely could? She's brilliant at what she does. Or does she actually want to enjoy herself? Because she's seen people, not be well for a long time. And the shoulders dropped. I brought in a financial planner, and I think someone said something about, a lot of the fascinating part of what we do is actually finding the right people, finding the right recipe of people to work with your clients who, in this case, I knew the client very well. Sometimes it's someone else who introduces me because they think I might be the missing part of the jigsaw. But in this case, it was a male planner, and he said to her, actually, we can look at how much you can spend. Let's just look at the maximum amount you can spend. And I happen to know she loves tennis, and her challenge to herself this year is to travel all around the world and see all the major tournaments in Rome and Madrid, and she loves Wimbledon. So, I hadn't told him that, but that was the magic moment. And I think she came into that meeting really not knowing what she wanted. Yeah. So it's fascinating to see that happen.
I think sometimes you only get to know what you want by having the right conversations, whether that's within your family, with your partner, with your kids, your parents, but we just don't talk about this stuff. Money's still a bit of a taboo, isn't it, Suzanne?
As is death.
Oh.
So death and taxes.
Yay!
Happy, fun times. But I think, the inevitability of life and death, And facing that early on, we have marriage preparation courses, we have NCT to prepare for having children. We never learn how to register a death and prepare for a funeral. And a lot of what I talk to clients about is the practicalities of it. It's not, have you got a will? It's all of the other things that really, really matter. And I suppose, talking about taking control, I feel quite passionately about women taking control and responsibility. You know, our predecessors fought for the vote. Women only were educated properly a long time after men. You know, in the war effort, suddenly women could work. It was incredibly liberating. And I think it was only 1974 that women could get a credit card without a man endorsing it. So, you know, come on, guys, we can do this. And I think being able to think clearly about what you want, but to declutter your mind of all the other things that are swarming in and perhaps taking priority. So, you know, these things slip to the bottom of the pile because you think, oh, well, I'll get to it another day. But leaving a good legacy, not leaving a mess, is so important. And what we deal with is your life's work that you're leaving to those you love the most. And leaving that in good order is the greatest gift that you can give to those that you leave behind. And it's often not about money. It's so often not about money. It's about your personal possessions. It's about your online digital presence, you know, about your funeral arrangements. And just giving that some thought so that they're not left to make those difficult decisions and to disagree about them is really what we're all about. And really just to make time for it. It's so challenging when there are so many other pressing things. And as Lucy has said, to have somebody to walk that journey with you. I liken it to having a personal trainer. You can try and get fit on your own. You can watch videos. You can, you know, try very hard. But to have somebody who will help you, your trusted advisor, who will be there to walk with you. And I also want to particularly address when post-relationship, you're a widow, your relationship hasn't succeeded. How do you navigate that? And we see this so often that it's traditional, and we still see that a lot. That and partly I think it's just division of labour. You take the rubbish out, I'll do the cooking, or whatever it is in your particular household. But a lot of women still think, oh, I don't want to think about money. You know, I've got lots of other things to think about. I trust him completely. And you may trust him completely, but actually we talk about knowledge and approval. So you may approve it, but do you actually know what's going on? And, you know, signing a will, you have to have knowledge and approval of the document you're signing. It's the same with your finances. You need to understand those because he might not always be there. And actually, we fought for the vote. Let's fight for our, you know, rights, really, to understand our financial position and our legal position so that we can actually do this on our own. We don't need him.
Yeah, I've just come across this with my own mother, who's 78, and she suddenly had to know the financial stuff. And my dad had kept a box file of his passwords, which turns out wasn't up to date. And so she was scrabbling around. Unfortunately, I was there to help her sort it out. But I might not have been a financial journalist, you know, and I might not have had a clue myself. Without me, I think she would have really struggled. So it's just so important, as you say, to have the knowledge. But the clarity, I think, is the really interesting thing, because sort of getting to the point where you can have wonderful conversations with people like Lucy and Suzanne to get to the nub of what you want money to do for yourself, do for you. But you can also ask yourself some really searching questions. So, for example, if I had enough money to stop work tomorrow, what would I do? You know, or if I knew I only had a year to live, what would I do? And I think those kinds of deep searching questions can really focus your mind on, you know, your goals, your financial goals, how much money you would need, how ideally you want to spend your money, those kinds of things. And I spend a lot of my time writing about pensions, which is the most boring word. And I would much prefer to write about financial freedom, which is much, much more exciting and can be described as absolutely liberating. It liberates you to get on with your purpose. And I'm now going to ask Lucy and Suzanne to both share their professional and maybe their personal experience of this feeling of liberation that comes. Lucy, do you want to go first?
This is the reward for grasping the nettle, if you like. And if any of you were here last year, we talked quite a lot about the power of music. So, we see all sorts of clients going off and doing wonderful things. I've got a client who bought a horse, which was something she'd wanted to do for years and years and years recently, and she's found a whole new community and a whole new world from having fulfilled that dream. For me, when I was thinking about this, the missing piece of the jigsaw in all of this is actually someone on the other side of the table, if you like, who's actually experienced all of what we're talking about, or some of what we're talking about. So I actually have a client here who very generously has said that she will give you, in her own words, some of her experience of working with myself and Anna, who's in the audience, over the last couple of years. So it may be that you want to go first, or maybe I'll pass over to Amanda.
We'll hear from your lovely client.
Do you want a microphone?
Yeah. There's mic for you. There's mic for you there. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello.
This was the lady who put her hand up earlier.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So all my ducks are in a row, and that is because of Lucy and Anna. And they're also my yoga mantras as well. So all I have to do, my sai is Lucy and Anna. My yoga class is meeting with Lucy and Anna. So the stress has been completely taken out of my life. I got divorced after 30 years of marriage, just over 2 years ago. And my divorce solicitor, I said to him, my finances I need to put in order. I got a very nice divorce settlement. And I said, I know nothing about money because I was a stay-at-home mum for 30 years. And I was suddenly drowning in the sea of, oh my God, what do I do? I have no idea. So my very trusted divorce solicitor, who has now retired, he said after my case, it just puts him out to grass. Recommended Lucy, and he actually recommended a couple of people, but he said, you are going to click with Lucy, I guarantee you. So I needed to get my money invested quickly, and so I thought I'll meet with Lucy. We had our meeting and we clicked immediately. And I actually thought life is too short. So what am I doing meeting these other people that my solicitor said, they're fine, but they're men. Sorry. You will click with Lucy. You can confide in her. She gets it. She will get you. And she will get the worries that I haven't had any financial dealings for 30 years. And I was embarrassed by it. So Lucy has taken over my portfolio. Anna has set me, where is Anna? Anna has set me out a budget, and we did it in a way that I could have a luxury budget. So my budget is, I don't work. I raised 3 children, 3 boys. I no longer work. I didn't have a career, and I wanted to continue my life. I bought a house, mortgage free, and Anna worked out a budget that I could live on very, very comfortably to the standard that I was living previously.
So what's that done for you? The financial feeling of liberation, it's all sorted.
Wonderful. It's completely sorted.
Yeah.
I chose, because it was a challenge, to go on the lowest tier of my budget that I could choose from, and I have done extremely well on it, which is a bit of a laugh.
Brilliant.
And I have a giggle about it. I feel hugely empowered that I'm not having to deal with my finances. I don't understand them. I can say that to Lucy. When the shares go up or down, I'm not having sleepless nights, because if some of my shares have gone down, I know that Lucy has balanced it, so there are the shares going up. I have a stable income. And whenever I get that envelope through my door of my quarterly statement or my annual statement, I see the little purple corner and it just goes into the back of the filing cabinet.
Brilliant.
And I tell Lucy and Anna this. I say, look, I'm not interested. I don't understand the market. I don't understand my finances. I want a really simple life now. I've had quite a challenging life, and I want everything to be very simplified. I want you to take the burden off my shoulders. So the reason why Lucy has no time for herself is because she's doing stuff for people like me.
Brilliant.
And, you know, she's having to work very hard.
And we've seen you grow in confidence.
Yes,
so, you know, it's, and I know it's never going to be for you, and that's fine.
Exactly. And I've got you.
Right. So, can we just... Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there are obviously some legal stuff as well. That's the financial picture. But Suzanne, how would you advise someone the liberation that comes from dealing with your legal affairs?
I think it is demystifying it for people, because, you know, people sometimes come and see me and they're beautifully turned out because they're coming to see the lawyer. And actually, we're just normal people. You know, we go through a very similar life. I think, wasn't it Christopher Walken, it says he puts on his trousers one leg at a time. You know, it's the same sort of thing. And demystifying the urban myths, so lots of people sort of think they know, but actually there's this constant background nagging of, do I actually know what's going to happen? You know, the classic is the common law relationship, masses of people who don't ever get married but think that their partner is going to be absolutely fine. And of course, they're not. If you're not married and you don't have a will, your partner doesn't get anything. So you need to take some advice.
Very, very
but then
important.
also the things that you do know about, like we've mentioned the power of attorney, or, you know, lots of people ring us up and say, oh, I want to put my house into a trust for my children. I read it in the newspaper, I heard it on Radio 4, and it's like, you do actually need to know the truth of those things, and that's what we're here for. But I think it's more just to have the trusted advisor, because I don't expect you to suddenly become experts in law, but to have somebody that you can ring and ask those questions. And that really is the key, and I think particularly we want to be that, you know, be your solicitor. So it might be that you've got a question about something else, but just to be that source of knowledge to debunk some of the things that you might think are true and actually might not be, but to allay your fears and that nagging that, oh, am I missing, you know, I must do some inheritance tax planning, might not actually apply to your estate. And then, you know, that peace of mind of knowing that you've actually investigated it and you can go into your next decade knowing that actually everything is all right.
Brilliant. Well, I think we're running out of time, but thank you very much to Lucy and Suzanne. I think there are a few takeaways here. Do your admin. If you don't want to do the stuff yourself, find someone who you really trust and who you click with, as we've heard. And also have the really, really important conversations with your family. Because and also do the self-care bit, you know, those important things about what would money do for me if I got it sorted. Thank you very much.